So welcome back. What I'm trying to do is make some experiments about possible problems that may happen changing identifiers in resource files and so on. And there's been a little debate recently about it. I'm saying that it may cause problems, and other people are saying that it's not causing problems. So what I'm trying to do is make a little experiment with minimal changes and see what happens, because I think that's probably the only way to maybe show things in a more easy to understand way, and also maybe it's kind of proof, because if you don't try doing the things, you never know. And as usual, I may be wrong, so let's try and see it. So if you want to understand what I'm talking about, there's a thread about it in the latest data release, where I'm telling about what I think is a problem, especially with projects like this one, which is meant to be used by a lot of other mods and by a lot of other players. So I think that changing identifiers should be something really done only if extremely needed, and that does not mean making things easier to find for modders, because when you do this kind of library used by a lot of people, your number one priority should be not cause problems with the saves and the games of people playing the game. This is my opinion. And there are different opinions about this kind of possible problems. So the team is assuming that there are not really consequences about this, because there's a tool which is replacing automatically things in plugins and so on. While I'm saying that no, it's not like this, because the data saved in the games are interested by this kind of changes, and basically information in the game may be discarded even using this kind of tool. The only tool able to fix these things is, as always, mesh updated procedure, but to work this procedure has to have 2 copies of the before after the mods, and must be applied in a way that in practice is very rarely applied by users, because it's not super easy. You must read the readme, understand how it works, and apply these things that may be annoying. So it is surely possible to update using mesh updaters correctly, but it is not perfectly safe and not easy if you don't do it. So what I'm trying to do is, let's try and see. We do the same things suggested to do with this kind of changes of references. I will do the equivalent of using the tool, the automatic tool to change the references, but I will do it using an hexadecimal editor, because it's faster, and also I think it is easier to understand what happens inside the files. And then we will see what happens. I think it's easier to see it than trying to explain it. So first thing first, we make an minimal equivalent of a resource mod, like the OAB data. And we just put inside this resource mod one single thing just to prove the concept. So we load our masters as usual, and we make a new resource file with just one thing. My purpose here is just to give something a new identifier, a new resource. So, and I want to use to make it easier to see in game what happens. I will use just one of the most common used things in game. So, for instance, aesthetic, and we order by count, so we have most used things in game, which is this pile and this menu used. But we could use anything. It is just simpler to find this kind of things in game. So okay, we choose this one, this menu, and we give it a new identifier. This is our new resource. Could be anything. I will just add X after the name, and I will save as a new thing, a new object, like this. Okay, that's a new one. Obviously count is 0, so it will have a different name. I will show you from an easier to use tool, but for now I will save this like past resources .esp. Okay, and now I can go out of here. Start mesh. And look for this past resource ESP. I right click, statistics, and we see what is inside. No need to clean it, just this file, just as a static and the header. So we can look at it. I will use MW edit to make things faster, so we just open this one. What's inside? A new static with this new identifier, the same mesh, but this doesn't matter for what we are trying to experiment here. Okay, so this is our new resource. Now we make from this ESP, we make our resource file, which will be a ESM file. We go to mesh, change, make a copy to ESM. So this is our equivalent of OAB data ESM, for instance, or could be Tamriel data or something like this. So we have this new resource file with one new thing, with one new identifier, right? Very simple. And we now put it in our loading list, like where it is. Past resources, ESM, should be this one. Okay, now this is our equivalent to OB data. Now we make a model using this resource file. Okay, so we load it. It is just a resource mod like this. It should automatically load the other masters. Let's see. because they are just 4. Okay, so we have our Bethesda masters, our new resource master. Now we want to use this thing in a mod. So to make things easier to verify, I will use that new static in a very extensive way to make things simpler to find, but could be anything. So what I will do is I will look for the standard rock we changed as a new resource, and for instance in this cell I can get 1. Okay, this is the standard one. A lot of them, and I will use search replace to use our new resource instead, which is the one with the X added. So this is another thing. I could do it in current cell, I could do it in all the game. What will change is the probability to be able to notice this kind of changes. But we are trying to get a proof if this kind of changes can cause problems. So I will change it everywhere just to improve the probability of being able to see this change. But it really doesn't matter. It could be just one change, or could be a lot of them. But okay, we did a change. What we did is changing all these rocks with a new version. It has the same mesh because we just changed the identifier, but the concept is we, in our mods, depending on this resource, we change it and use this resource in a mod. Okay, very simple, replacing other old rocks with the new one, and we save it like mod example .esp. Right, and we are done in the construction set. Now we can, as usual, we can clean the mod if we want. Not really essential, but just to be sure there are no other things that can interfere with the thing. So latest one, mod example, open and clean, just deleting one field, nothing really important. We check the log, but as you can see, this mod now has a lot of changes to a lot of our cells because we replaced the rocks with the new resource. Just deleted an ambient something introduced by the construction set. Anyway, we can also clean using, if you want to, we can clean it also using that's for common clean, but should oh, no, not this one. Oh, sorry, wrong file. This one. Let's see if I am able to clean it. or if it is still blocked by the previous one. I'm not sure about it. Okay, I think it's better to stop here and restart the thing. Let's see. Because sometimes it's going to freeze. Let's see. That's very common. Clean. Okay. I think it's blocked because it must be running out of memory, running in the background probably. Let's see. Maybe it's here. I will try and use another mesh. Let's see. This one works better. So the last one, mod example, right click, clean with that's very common. I think it could be a temp file from test.com that is blocking things. Okay, let's see. It's taking too long, so probably it's blocked that way. Let's see. This is interesting because it may happen. Oh, maybe. Okay. It's been long, but okay. So it's finished. It just removed water height from the sun, so nothing related to our rock resources, but just to have the mod as clean as possible. Okay. Now, so this is the standard situation when we use our resource mod. We have a resource mod with the new identifier, a new thing, and we have a mod using the resource mod. And using it, changing, moving, replacing things, and doing something with this new resource. No problem. And now we play our game with these two mods loaded. So we go to our list. I have a standard list here with just test charging, a couple of mods I use, but it's a very minimal installation I use to test things. So we add our mod in our list, mod example, replacing the rocks, and automatically we load also the resource mod containing our new rock here. Okay, so this is the equivalent of a minimal equivalent of OAB data, and this is the minimal equivalent of a mod using it. Okay, so now we play the game. Start borrowing. And the new game. Let's stop the music so it's less annoying. Can I stop from here? Okay. So I will try and go to some cell where there are a lot of those rocks. So I will use this command to go to the a cell that should have lots of them, and I will use this command to toggle God mode so cliff races don't kill me. So we replaced one of these rocks, so we are looking for one of them. Here it is. As you can see, we replaced this rock with the new resource one, so the mod is changing everything here. Now what we want to do is to apply some changes to these statics so they are saved. These changes are saved in game. For instance, we could change the rotation, so first we click on the thing, set angle, X, too much. Okay, so we moved it just a little, changing the angle. We can change its scale. Too much. Okay. So we did some changes in our game with one of these things. We can do also, for instance, with this one. Yes, it is always one of the things we are using from our resource mod. So move, wall, X. Not much. Let's do something bigger. So we move it to the water. Like this. Okay. So we moved these two things and now we save. And we call it test, just to be defined. Okay, we are done here. We can go out of the game and restart it just to be sure things work as they should. So we start the game and load that save, and we should see naturally that those two rocks moved from their original position. Hopefully. Okay. So these two rocks, new resources from our resource mods used by another mod, have been changed in our game session. We moved the static, and the statics, when we load the save, are where they should be in their new position. All is good. We go out now. Now we will emulate what happens when one of this project is changing that resource identifier. To do this in a fast way, we will do using an hexadecimal editor like this one. and we will do it using our files. So we have two files. We have the test resources here, the equivalent of the ORB data with one new resource, and the mod which is using that resource. So we open these two things with our hexadecimal editor. First, this small one, which has just one new resource definer. These many new items with this identifier. And what we want to do is just change the identifier. To make things simple, we will just replace X with Y here. I think in English that's the right pronunciation. Okay. So very simple change. I did not even change the length of the identifier. It doesn't matter. It's a different identifier. It is a different game primary key. And we save the mod. Okay. Now, obviously this can cause problems, but luckily we have these resource mod providers giving us also a handy tool to automatically do the changes also to the mod dependent on the resource. So we change the resource mod, giving it new identifier, but we have an automatic tool to automatically change all the places where this old identifier is used with the new correct one. And this you can do automatically downloading the tool provided by, for instance, ORB data. So in theory, you should be able just running the tool to do what I'm doing using an hexadecimal editor to make things faster here and to show you what happens when you do this change. Basically, we just change this identifier with the proper new one having a Y as final letter instead of the old one having X. So I will use this to replace, let me copy it, search for X and replace with final Y. Very simple. Okay, and I'm using this hexadecimal editor to make things faster and replacing all the thousands elements with the new one. Okay, very simple. This is the equivalent of what your ORB data automatic tool is doing for your new reference. And we save it. So we save both of them. We did change these are backup, but we can use a mesh with the super handy automatic resetting of modified dates, so the plugin's loading order remains the same. So this is the change we did using automatic tools to replace the old identifier with the new one. So what I'm saying is this will cause problems with those changed references in the save, while other people is assuming that this will not cause problems, because what the game really is looking for are indices of the plugins and the master, not the object id. So uh, my opinion is that it is not true. Uh, the saves rely on the object id to uh, be able to correctly um, apply the changes you do when you save the game. Uh, it is true that mesh updaters procedure can remap things, but to be able to do that, it must be applied correctly, and a very few % of people are able to actually do it. And to be able to do it, mesh need usually a previous version of a mod and a new version of the mod. It is not simple. It is surely possible to do this thing because luckily the RB data is keeping the old identifier and the new resource identifiers in its master, but it still needs mesh updaters procedure to correctly fix the save, and this is not something simple for the user. So I'm not telling it is impossible to correctly update the saves. I'm telling that it is something complicated that most users are not able to do, or they don't want to learn to do. And so I'm saying that changing identifiers should be avoided as possible to make things simpler. And the current tools provided for users are not able to simply solve these problems. And it is simply not true that there are no consequences. So this is what we are trying to verify. And to do this, we go to saves. This is our save. I will make a copy of it from mesh. For this reason, I want to show you that mesh is already able to find the problems here just using the repair all, which is the suggestion that most of these resources mods are telling the user, you can fix everything using the repair all mesh. This is not true, because the only thing that mesh can do in this case is nuking these wrong resources like this. And this is the same equivalent done by the game when loading the broken game and nuking the resources on the fly. So it's a false feeling that things are correct, because mesh with this kind of actions can only do and show you first what the game will do normally loading a broken save, just removing those kind of changes from your saved game. To see this, we will go to the original save and try reloading it now that we have changed the identifier using the equivalent of the tool provided by the mod providers. Okay, so we just start the game and try to load this save after having changed the identifier in both the example ESP mod and the resource mod. So doing the equivalent of things that the resource mode authors are suggesting to do in a perfectly safe way. So we start the game. Now, maybe. And try to load that save. This is the copy we already have cleaned with mesh that already has no more changes. But we load the original save that in theory should still have the changes to those rocks. And notice this is the exact equivalent of the mesh cleaning message. I'm not more able to find this object, this reference changes while loading the cell. Continue running executable. Yes, yes to all, what you want. Now we load the cell and see what happens to those rocks that had been saved, like moved. All our changes are gone. So, sorry, but if this is not proof, I don't know how to explain it in a better way. I think that that's all. You are free to try to repeat this example with less rocks changed, but that's not the problem. The problem is identifiers are used in the save and are important.